BTS Mexico City ticketing controversy, the sold-out disaster, and the fan backlash. 37 minutes. That is exactly how long it took for Ticketmaster Mexico to declare the BTS World Tour Adidang completely sold out. On paper, looking at the data released on January 25, 2026, it looks like a pristine victory for the Korean machine and the enduring power of their fan base. The headlines are glowing. 1.1 million people flooding a virtual queue from over 1,300 cities worldwide. 3 dates at the Estadio GMP Seguros vanished in under an hour. If you just read the press releases or the glowing reports from outlets like Global Economic, you'd think this was nothing but a celebration of Mexico's rising status in the live music circuit. But if you actually spent that day online, or if you talked to the thousands of fans who walked away with nothing but error screens, you know that the sold out sign isn't the end of the story. It's just the spark that lit a very different, much uglier fire. Because almost the second the sales closed, the narrative shifted from a record-breaking success story to a deeply frustrating mystery about how a ticketing system meant to serve millions seemingly failed the very people it was built for. We are seeing a massive disconnect between what Ticketmaster is claiming officially and what the fans, known as ARMY, are experiencing on the ground. And this isn't just about disappointment over missing a concert. It has escalated to the point where the Mexican government had to step in before the sales even started. And now fans are mobilizing in numbers that are hard to ignore, demanding answers and, frankly, demanding change. Let's look at how this unfolded, because the timeline here is telling. Just days before the sale opened, the situation was already tense. On January 21st, the conversation wasn't about whether the shows would sell out, but about whether the process would even be fair. It was rare to see a head of state weigh in on a pop concert, but Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum publicly addressed the issue, acknowledging the demand as a historic event driven by the country's youth. She wasn't just congratulating the band, she was signaling concern. That pressure pushed the Federal Consumer Protection Agency, or Profeco, to formally intervene. They asked Ticketmaster and the promoter Ochesa to disclose the things that usually stay hidden: the pricing structures, the seat map, and exactly how many tickets were being allocated for each phase of the sale. The red flag was waving well before anyone even logged into the waiting room. When the pre-sale finally launched for fan club members, the chaos was immediate. According to a detailed breakdown circulating on Reddit, which has aggregated hundreds of fan accounts, the system was effectively broken for those who followed the rules. Imagine having your ARMY membership verified, saving up money and logging in early, only to be hit with an error message saying the sale was only for registered fans. That's the irony that had people tearing their hair out. Valid members were locked out, while access was restored mere minutes before the sale started, or in some cases after it had already begun. In the world of ticketing, where milliseconds decide whether you get a seat or not, that delay is a death sentence. Even fans who managed to secure low queue numbers that should have guaranteed them a shot at a ticket, reported logging in to find vast sections of the stadium already grayed out, unavailable, or just gone. And then came the visuals that really fueled the suspicion. During what was advertised explicitly as a digital-only pre-sale, videos started popping up on social media showing long physical lines of people at box offices. This is baffling when the rules said the only official channel was the app or website. If you were staring at a sold-out screen on your laptop while watching a video of people buying tickets in person, you're naturally going to feel like the game was rigged. It raises a question that hasn't been answered satisfactorily yet. Were tickets being siphoned off through offline channels while the digital queue was melting down? Ochesa and Ticketmaster haven't offered a detailed explanation for those discrepancies, and silence in the face of that kind of evidence only breeds distrust. When the general sale opened a few days later, the story remained the same. The 1.1 million people in the virtual queue were staring at ghost seats, tickets that appeared available but vanished the second you tried to click them, or were hit with payment failures right at the checkout. It's the kind of technical failure that feels routine at this point, but the scale of it here was overwhelming. Ticketmaster Mexico would later go on social media to celebrate the numbers, stating that there were no errors on their end and that this was simply one of the highest demand sales in the country's history. They told fans to avoid resale sites, warning of fraud. But that warning rang hollow to the people who were seeing tickets appear on those same resale sites at astronomical prices just minutes after the sale began. It creates a cynical picture. The official line is system success, while the reality on the ground looks like system exploitation. What is fascinating and frankly a bit exhausting is the economic layer to all of this. The media is busy crunching gut-punching numbers talking about how these three concerts could generate up to 1 trillion Korean won in economic value, boosting tourism and driving exports of Korean cosmetics and food. Analysts are calling Mexico a strategic hub for K-pop. That's all probably true on a macro level, but when you zoom in, you see a federal consumer protection agency scrambling to manage public anger, and you see a petition on change.org that has already gathered over 65,000 signatures. That petition isn't asking for better light shows. It's calling for Ticketmaster and OCESA to be removed from ticket sales in Mexico entirely. It accuses the companies of unethical practices, claiming the constant errors and the immediate inflation of platinum ticket prices feel less like a technical glitch and more like a planned feature of a predatory system. You have to look at the language being used by the fans involved. It's not just "I'm sad I didn't get to go." It is "this is an injustice." The Reddit posts and the formal complaints being filed with Profeco are articulate, detailed, and angry. They are pointing out that the safeguards the government supposedly put in place after the president's early warning didn't materialize where it mattered. The transparency that was promised didn't stop the ghost seats, didn't stop the bots, and didn't stop the immediate resale frenzy. The disconnect is stark. The industry sees a global cultural and economic event, but the consumer sees a broken system that actively punishes loyalty. Now, we have to be careful here because we don't have a camera inside Ticketmaster's servers. We don't know the internal algorithms or exactly what happened with the inventory allocation. No official investigation has concluded yet, so we can't sit here and say this was a conspiracy. What we can say is that the volume of reports is too loud to ignore. When thousands of people across different banks, different devices, and different cities report the exact same specific failures, like being blocked despite a valid membership, that's a pattern. And when the official response is essentially "everything worked fine," it clashes violently with the user experience. The situation in Mexico City is turning into a flashpoint for a conversation that has been happening in the music industry for years. How do you handle demand that exceeds the infrastructure? But this feels different. It's not just about bots buying tickets. It's about the perception that the system is opaque. It's about the physical lines appearing during a digital sale. It's about the fact that fans feel the need to file federal complaints just to get a straight answer about why they couldn't buy a product that was supposedly available to them. As of now, the shows are sold out. Ticketmaster is celebrating. The economic projections for Mexico City are likely glowing, but the backlash is settling in. The petition to strip the companies of their sales privileges is growing, and Profeco is left holding the bag, tasked with investigating a mess that the ticketing giant claims doesn't exist. It's a stalemate between a record-breaking statistic and a very human feeling of having been played. And until there is a transparent audit of how that queue was managed or how those offline sales were authorized, the sold-out sign for these Mexico City shows is always going to have an asterisk next to it in the eyes of the fans who fought for a ticket and lost to a black screen.